Hey, it just happened, so we need to talk about it. A major federal court just blocked President Trump's sweeping tariffs, saying he went too far by using emergency powers meant for national security to impose broad taxes on imports. This is big. We're talking about a ruling that could reshape how trade policy works, how much authority a president really has, and how prices at the store might shift from here on out. And what makes this even more important is the timing. With inflation still a concern and many families watching every dollar, decisions like this can have a ripple effect. From the cost of your next car to the small businesses in your neighborhood trying to stay afloat. This ruling could touch more parts of your life than you might expect. So if you're wondering what it all means, how it might impact you, and what comes next, stick around. We're going to walk through it together and break down what matters most right now. Before we jump in, leave a quick comment and let me know. Have you or someone you know felt the pinch from higher prices or trade policy changes? And if you find this kind of breakdown helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you're always up to speed when the next headline hits. So here's what happened. On May 28th, the U.S. Court of International Trade ruled that President Trump overstepped his authority by using emergency powers to impose a broad set of tariffs on imported goods. These weren't your typical, narrowly focused tariffs. These were large-scale, sweeping actions that affected everything from cars to pharmaceuticals. The legal tool he used is something called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA for short. It was created back in 1977, and it was meant to help the president respond quickly to national security emergencies. Think about situations involving terrorism, hostile governments, or financial threats. It was never intended to be a way to raise taxes on foreign goods just because the trade balance is uneven. And that's what the court said, loud and clear. 3 judges, each one appointed by a different president, unanimously agreed that Trump's tariffs didn't meet the legal standard. They said the kind of economic imbalance or trade deficit that Trump was citing isn't the unusual and extraordinary threat required under IEEPA. You see, historically, this law has been used to freeze assets or block specific financial transactions involving adversaries. What President Trump tried to do was stretch that law way beyond its original purpose, to use it as a tool to reshape trade deals and punish trading partners with high tariffs unless they gave the U.S. better terms. And the court said no. Now, if you're wondering why this matters, think about what tariffs actually are. Tariffs are taxes on goods that come into the country. When those taxes go up, the prices you pay at the store can go up too. It affects businesses that import goods, and it affects consumers like you and me who buy those goods. So when tariffs go up suddenly, especially without a clear process or warning, it creates chaos in the economy. And that's exactly what a group of small businesses in several states argued in court. One of the plaintiffs, a wine importer, said their costs shot up overnight and they couldn't keep up. And if you're a small business owner, you probably know there's not a lot of wiggle room when your margins are already tight. And this is also about the balance of power. Congress is the one that's supposed to set taxes and control trade policy. That's in the Constitution. The president can't just wake up one day and declare a trade emergency unless there's a clear, immediate threat. And the court basically said, you can't bend the rules just because you don't like the current trade deals. And it's not like there aren't legal tools the president can use. For example, Trump has used Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act to place tariffs on steel and aluminum. That law specifically allows the president to take action when national security is involved, and it mentions tariffs by name. Those earlier tariffs are still in place, by the way. This ruling only blocks the ones made under the emergency powers in IEEPA. Now, this brings up another interesting piece. There's also a law called Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. That law gives the president the ability to impose short-term tariffs, up to 150 days, if the U.S. is running a large trade deficit with another country. It's more limited, but it's still an option. So the administration might pivot and try using that next. We'll have to wait and see. Also, let's talk about the political side for a second. President Trump has long used tariffs as a negotiation tactic. He argues that if a country puts a tax on U.S. goods, we should do the same to them. He calls it reciprocity, and he says it's about leveling the playing field. Some people agree with that. They say other countries have been taking advantage of the US for years, but critics call it economic bullying. And there's even a phrase people use, taco theory. It stands for Trump always chickens out. The idea is that Trump makes a bold announcement, the markets panic, and then later the administration walks it back and says it was just part of the negotiation. When asked about it, Trump simply said, "It's called negotiation." But critics say that approach creates a lot of confusion, especially for businesses trying to make long-term plans. And when policy swings back and forth, that uncertainty can be worse than the tariffs themselves. And now here's where it gets really interesting. The markets actually liked this court ruling. Right after it was announced, stock futures jumped. The Dow Jones rose nearly 500 points in after-hours trading. Economists said the ruling gives businesses a little more clarity, especially smaller companies that were struggling to absorb the costs of unpredictable tariffs. And that reaction makes sense. Predictability is really important for business. When a company knows what the rules are, it can plan, it can hire, it can invest. But when the rules keep changing, or when they're based on shaky legal ground, that makes everyone nervous. But we also have to be real. This ruling doesn't undo everything. Some tariffs are still in place, especially the ones under Section 232. And even though the court said the president overstepped, the administration could still appeal the decision. If they do, it could go all the way to the Supreme Court. So the legal story might not be over. But the message from the court is clear: there are limits. And a president can't just claim there's an emergency and use that to bypass Congress on something as important as taxes and trade policy. What's more, this case isn't just about one person or one administration. It sets a precedent for the future. It's a reminder that in a democracy, power is meant to be shared. Checks and balances matter. And even when things feel urgent, we still need to follow the rules. So then, what should we take away from all this? Well, if you're a consumer, you might see some prices ease up in the coming months, depending on how businesses respond. If you're a business owner, this could mean fewer surprises when it comes to your supply chain. And if you care about how our government works and who gets to make the big economic decisions, this ruling is a big deal. All right then, I'd love to hear what you think. Have tariffs made your life more expensive? Have you seen prices go up on things you regularly buy? Or had trouble sourcing products at your business? Let's talk about it in the comments. Your story might help someone else feel seen or help explain how these big decisions play out in real life. And if you found this helpful, informative, or just appreciate a calm voice walking you through these kind of changes, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's a simple way to support the channel and stay informed. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon with more helpful updates to keep you ahead of the curve. Take care.